Alright, if you're gonna jump into this world of doing theory videos and stuff like that, you gotta sound smart. You gotta sound like you know what you're talking about and like you're important. I'm gonna start saying indubitably. Indubitably. Well, howdy, party people. I had to at least take the tie off. It was scratching up my head a little bit. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit, do a little One Piece theory video. I've been doing a lot of One Piece content recently because I love One Piece, and catching up on the manga and the story has just really reinvigorated my love for this show and for this story. So, I want to talk a little bit about something that we saw in the Reverie arc recently. So, the Reverie arc happened right before this new Wano arc. Reverie is a big meeting that happens with all the world leaders, all the kings and queens of all the lands. They all gather together and they just hang out, shoot the shit, talk a little bit, you know, like boys do. Boys and girls. Yes, good young dudes and dudettes. Yeah. So they all kind of gather around and hang out. It was nice, though, before I get onto the subject, it was nice seeing Vivi and Dalton and Shirahoshi and all of these characters kind of hanging out and talking to each other. These characters that have only interacted with Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates, seeing them interact with some of the other supporting and side characters, that was really cool. That was a lot of fun. The little Luffy fan club that kind of happened was really great. Of just these people who are like, shh, we like Luffy. We think Luffy's the best. We're gonna just go over here and talk about how cool he is. So that was a lot of fun. Even seeing Wapol again, which, I mean, that guy's the worst. God. Oh my lord, Wapol's the worst. But it was fun seeing his dumb face again. So, we get this scene where there's this mysterious cloaked figure named Imsama. He goes down into the dark depths of Marie Joie, the Pangea Castle, the holy land of, the world leaders. Goes down to this dungeon, and we see this giant, I say it's giant, it looked big. It looked pretty big, but this big frozen, it had like ice on it. It was like frozen over straw hat, which everyone's been going crazy about because, as we know, the straw hat is the symbol of our main protagonist, Monkey D. Luffy. Mugiwara Pirates, Straw Hat Pirates. He got the hat from Shanks. Like, this is a very important piece of One Piece lore. And yet there is another Straw Hat inside of a chamber in the world leader's basement that it's obviously being protected and guarded and hidden away. So I have some thoughts about this. Some people are like, oh god, I really hope it's not like an actual, like, because there's the ancestry idea of it. There's a connection to the Will of D. So there's been this story throughout One Piece of the Will of D. People who have the D initial are enemies of God. They are people who will change the course of history in some sort of way. We have Monkey D. Luffy. We have Edward Teach. We have Portuguese D. Ace. There are many, many different characters. Monkey D. Garp. Dragon. I can go on and on. There are a lot of characters with this D initial. Roger, Gold D. Roger, the man who set off the new age of pirates. The Will of D is something that's very important in the lore of One Piece. So there is an idea that maybe the Straw Hat is connected to the Will of D. Maybe back during the Void Century. Maybe the Will of D clan, like the leader had their own straw hat. Like there's that possibility of maybe this is an artifact from the Void Century. The Void Century was a period of time where basically we don't know what happened, and the world government has erased all history and all information about that century. Basically, it's like, the Void Century happened, and then the world government appeared, and everything went okay. Which is a theme of this story, is like erasing history, and like history is decided by the victors. It's how the world government operates, So there is this idea that the Will of D, that this frozen straw hat is maybe from the Void Century. Maybe it is connected to the Will of D, the clan. Maybe Joy Boy, who is someone that we know is from is connected to the poneglyphs, which are like the poneglyphs are these giant like manuscripts. They're these giant stone tablets that are basically the history of what happened during the Void Century. They're unbreakable tablets basically that are hidden throughout the world. So there's this idea that maybe Joy Boy, maybe that straw hat is connected to him, or connected to the Will of D clan. Maybe it was worn by the first people who rose up against the world government as it was being formed. That's an idea. I don't know if I fully agree with that idea, because that means that hat would be over like 800 years old or something like that. And I know it's like frozen, whatever, and I feel like it'd be a little bit too on the nose if the enemies of the first enemies of the world government were people who wore a straw, or like the leader of them wore a straw hat. Like that might be a little bit too on the nose, but you can't put it away. That is a possibility. The one that I feel more kind of inclined to believe is this idea that the straw hat, it's not a physical, it's not a actual straw hat. That's not what it is. It is like an ethereal thing that manifests itself as whatever the current enemy of the world government is. So it's a shape-shifting thing that basically transforms into whatever the biggest enemy of the world government is. Because right after that, Im-sama sits in the empty throne, which is, if you didn't read the Reverie arc, basically we see this thing called the empty throne, which is this idea that, oh, there is no one ruler of, the world government. It's all these different people coming together, the Gorosei, who are like the 5 elders, and all this other stuff. Im-sama sits in the empty throne. So we know the world government's hiding Im-sama. They don't want people to know about Im-sama. They don't want anyone to know that he is the actual ruler. He is the one that they all go to. He's kind of like a shadow leader, which makes sense with the world government, because the world government hides and keeps secrets, which it's probably one of my favorite things about One Piece, really, is that this idea of you have pirates who are fight for freedom. You have Luffy, and the idea of being a pirate is the idea of the freedom to chase after your dreams and to get what you want. And then you have the world government who fight with every fiber of their being to take away that freedom from people, to hide and take away information from people, and to control people. That is what they want to do. They want to control history. They want to control everything. So basically, after Im-sama sees the straw hat, he goes and sits on the throne. And the Gorosei, they ask him, who do you want? They say there needs to be a cleansing. There needs to be another great cleanse. They feel like too much is happening in the world, too many things that are against them. They feel like too many people are rising up. They said, we need a new cleanse. Who is our target? So it's interesting that they ask this after he goes down in the dungeon. So my guess is that, Im-sama's like, hey, yo, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to check and see. I'm going to check my thingy. And so he goes in there, he sees a straw hat, he comes up, and they're like, all right, who do we need to kill? It's almost like, it's like a hit list. It's like a magical hit list that just transforms into whatever is the biggest threat. And I feel like the last time, like, it's probably not always turning, it's obviously goes after the biggest threat, so it probably doesn't, after a threat is eliminated, it probably reverts back to its original form. I will feel like the form it had before the Straw Hat probably was something related to Whitebeard, because the world government was very adamant about going after Whitebeard. That's why they captured Ace. That's why they used Ace as a target, as someone to draw out Whitebeard, because I feel like Whitebeard was possibly their last target before this thing turned into Monkey D. Luffy. Whatever this thing is, it's some sort of, it's almost like a wanted poster. It transforms into whoever their next target is. I feel like that's more likely. That would make more sense, because if the world government had this straw hat in their grasp this entire time, that just feels a little weird that once Luffy started rising up the ranks, they would immediately try to go after him. And then also, how would this relate to Shanks? Because Shanks also had the straw hat before Luffy's, and Shanks becomes one of the Yonko. He's an emperor, and he obviously has a relationship with the world leaders because he has a meeting with the Gorosei about a certain pirate, which we don't know who he's talking about. So obviously, Shanks, the Straw Hat itself is not, I believe, not, a symbol that's always been there, because why would they trust Shanks so much, or why would they have such a good relationship with him to where they can have a meeting together? So that's where I feel like that theory kind of falls apart. What I do feel like is that it's just it's a thing that doesn't really have, like, it just transforms into the world government's enemy at that time. And I feel like it was Whitebeard. Recently, it turned into Whitebeard. They took him out. And then now, after Luffy has done some more crazy stuff, like, you know, going after Doflamingo and taking him out, and it's decided to change into the shape of Luffy, or out of the Straw Hat. But that necessarily doesn't explain the ice and the icing over it and why it looks like it's frozen over. That could maybe just be that the dungeon's cold. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not an expert. Damn it, I forgot to say indubitably in this video. Oh well, if you like that little theory, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And I will talk to you later.